Good afternoon. My name is Jeff Kiley, and I am a shareholder of CytRx and have been a shareholder for quite some time. I've done 41 minutes worth of videos, and here I am with another video. And I got to tell you about my day at the special shareholder meeting of CytRx last week. And first off, I cannot look at this any other way, but I believe, this is just my one man's opinion, I believe management did everything they could to restrict or limit or make it inaccessible for shareholders to attend this meeting. Point one day before the scheduled meeting, which was 3 weeks ago or so, they postponed it by a week or 10 days. I can't remember exactly the time frame. But I know people who had bought tickets, made arrangements, rescheduled things to attend this, and 24 hours before the shareholders meeting, they postponed it by a week. I don't remember the reason, but they did. Then, I'm trying to figure out where this is. I don't know law. I try to stay away from lawsuits. I'm not one of the people suing CytRx. So I kind of know where Loeb and Loeb is, I'm in LA, so I'm going to attend this meeting no matter what. And I kind of know where Loeb is, so I go to the CytRx website, and I look at the website, and then I look at the address, and I look and then I go to Google Maps, and that's a Porsche dealer on Santa Monica Boulevard. They have the wrong address for the shareholder meeting of Loeb and Loeb on the CytRx website, and of course, I challenged them about this at the meeting, and they just say, no, it was the right address. And I pulled it up on my phone, I showed it to them, and they said, oops. So when we get there, we have a lawyer explaining to us, not explaining, mandating that we read the rules of engagement. They call them rules of conduct. Here they are. These are the rules of conduct, of the CytRx shareholder meeting. And what these rules of conduct say are, we are allowed only to ask a question. We are allowed to ask one question. We must raise our hand and be acknowledged by the CEO chairman, like in kindergarten. And once he says you, then we are allowed to ask one question and only one question, and it must be about the reverse stock split, period. What kind of management wants shareholders? It was restricted. And when I challenged them on this, the lawyers want it this way. I don't believe that one bit. This is management trying to limit what we talk about at this meeting. And of course, I had a presentation a mile long about what I want to say. And, this reverse stock split that's done. And, let's tell you, because Stephen Kriegman paraded around the podium bragging about 87 million shareholders voted for the reverse stock split, and only 42 million shares voted against it. And I'm sorry, that's not a victory for management, because you've got passive investors like BlackRock, State Street, Vanguard, who own big slugs of this stock because they have to. It's in an index, and they always vote with management. They never get involved in spats like this. So of the people that are real people with a heartbeat and a soul, 42 million shares voted worth of shareholders voted against this. Because I'm going to tell you what's going to go on. The minute there is one bit of good news, or the minute, there's a little bit of a share of stock squeeze or short squeeze going on, and this stock pokes its head up, bingo. Because I am sure, I look you in the eye, this CEO has a Rodman and Renshaw, H.C. Wainwright, Aegis on his favorites on his phone, and he's going to hit the button, and he's going to raise $30 million at $1.50 or something to keep this game going on. So finally at 10:02 he walks in, and he's got his two security guards on either side, and these guys were central casting. They're in black suits, and they've got their hands crossed like this. They're ready to do anything with the 4 shareholders that show up. I'm one of them. That brave souls that went through the rules of engagement and endured and got the right address and went through all this stuff to show up. And he walks in, and these guys, the only thing that was missing with these guys was the earpiece. The president has arrived, that kind of stuff. It was ridiculous. And there's four of us. And of course, two lawyers, John Callows and Stephen Kriegsman. And of course, my hand goes up right away because I want to talk about the stuff that goes on. Somebody else asked a question. He answered that question first. And in the answer was a 20-minute, I started out as a child, Steve Kriegsman explanation. I got the cab driver dad, the mother who worked in Bloomingdale's, sleeping in a bed with the sister with a sheet hung from the ceiling, separating he from his sister, and, working in the newsstand on Columbus Circle, which is not like working on the newsstand at Central Park West, which is across the street where all the rich people. He had to work that much harder on Columbus Circle. And this is what I'm getting in the shareholder meeting. 20 minutes of a 70-year-old story is what's going on. And I want to talk about things like Freiburg. I want to talk about things like litigation. I want to talk about the pipeline. I want to talk about things that are, and I'm listening to all this stuff that's revisionist history from 70 years ago. 20 minutes we listened to this. So finally I get up and the lawyer says, well, you can't ask a question about that. And I said, I'm going to. And in the middle of this, Wyatt Earp or Clint Eastwood, the two security guards, I'm standing there like this, calmly talking about, board members and this and that and everything. And one of the interrupts me and says, what's in your hand? Blurts out. And I'm just talking. What's in your hand? He says. The security guard. I mean, this guy's taking this job so seriously. And I said, there's nothing in my hand. I show him my hand. He apparently thought I had a gun or something and I was going to shoot somebody. This is the level these security guards, how imposing these people were to keep shareholders from asking a question that wasn't related to the stockholders event. So after I want to talk about the pipeline. Now let's, and I go back to Adam Fierstein, because he had a great quote when this transaction to sell Aldo to Dr. Patrick went down. He said, this is like cushion change that the billionaire found in the cushions of his couch, because he bought $13 million worth of stock, which had a 60-cent value or something at the time. So the guy paid $8 million, and it's cushions in his living room couch, is what he said. This guy's got billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars of healthcare assets going all over the world, and we just hope he focuses on Aldo. We hope. But if you say that that's over there, and you go to the CytRx website, which has recently been remodeled, but at the time, it showed all this Aldo stuff, that's not ours. That's somebody else's, completely in charge of that. We have no say in it. So what our pipeline now is these ultra high potency conjugates that are in preclinical testing, which means we're playing around with mice and rats, trying to figure, and this is what's going on in Freiburg at, according to the 10Q, $4 million a year. So we've got $46 million, and we're playing around. And these little ultra high potency drug conjugates are what's going to get us to the promised land. And where are we going to get the money for this? A secondary. Has to be. But even that's like kind of silly, because to think that present management is going to be able to take this from mice and rats to across the FDA goal line with not even $46 million. I'll get to that in a minute. With no money is kind of silly, because we all know it takes $800 million to get a drug, to the FDA. So what are we doing here? And part of the other presentation that he makes is how much money he has invested in this and how his mother owns stock, his sisters own stock, his children own stock, everybody's buying stock. His wife won't let him, his quote unquote, his wife won't let him buy any stock. He'll be divorced. I follow insider trading extensively. And I'm sorry, I have never seen a Creeksman or a Kalos step up and put their own money into this stock. Sure, they have vested interest in it because we give them stock options every single year, and every single year, at 30 cents a share, or you want to call it post split $1.88, they have a vested interest in it, but that's with our money. So I don't see any insider buying, and I look at the salaries, and so let's get back to the 10Q, which came out recently, I think about a week ago. And it says we have sufficient funds to operation in the foreseeable future. I don't, I think that's wrong. I think because you have cash of 46 million, and 32 million of it is already committed. And where is that 32 million? 4 million goes to what's going on with the mice and rats in Freiburg. 5 million goes to further fund our clinical programs for Aldo. We sold it for 13 million in stock. Stock had a 60-cent value at the time, so call it 8 million. But we got to pay $4 million back to further Aldo out of our own cash. So we sold what cost hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars in clinical programs. We sold for $4 million, give or take. $4 million. And the rest of the money, 8.3 money, general and administrative expenses, that's, we know what that is, that's salaries, $8.3 million. And $13.7 million goes to interest payments on the loan to Hercules. What a bad loan that was. They're getting, in addition to the 9% they've been paid for all these years they had the loan, they're getting $13.7 million out of our last bit of cash. This was a great loan for them, and they're getting their money out. So I was kind of like trying to, get this. And I think of all the trips to Freiburg and all the trips to ESMO and all the presentations we made, and it hasn't worked. It hasn't worked. The stock is 30 cents. Let's be real. It has not worked. To continue, it's like Einstein's, to continue to do the same thing and expect a different outcome is lunacy, is insanity. This is Einstein's definition of insanity. That's what we have here. We cannot keep doing this. We cannot keep doing it. So I kind of ended my presentation there by saying, who wants to keep this the way it goes, status quo? And the board members who did not even show up for this meeting, I'm still scratching my head on that one. How could the board members not show up for this meeting? They weren't required, I guess, to hear from 4 little shareholders, brave souls that showed up. But I ended my presentation by saying, who's happy with the status quo? And there's 2 groups. One is the lawyers, because that week there were 2 lawsuits that were filed that week alone. 2. So the lawyers, and I said Loeb and Loeb, and he corrected me. He started, Loeb and Loeb just does our proxy work. We use Skadden Arps and Myers, Byers, and Friars, for our other law work. So I said, oh my gosh, you got Loeb and Loeb charging, you got Skadden Arps charging, and this other law firm that I didn't recognize the name. And and the lawsuits are coming in all the time. This is where our cash is going. This is one group that wants to continue the way we're going presently. Because I can't even think the board members want to continue, because as they open their mailbox every day, they got another lawsuit against them. I don't think the board members are even happy with this anymore. So who's happy? Who's the last group that's happy? The shorts. The 14 million shares, which now I guess you got to divide it by 6. 14, they want this to continue, because a little unknown part of shorting, if the thing goes to 0, you never have a taxable event. You don't buy it back. It just goes to 0, and all the cash you sold it for comes to you free. The shorts want this to continue exactly as it is, because this is, and we're running out of money. We have to do a secondary now. So those are the two groups that want this team, because the shareholders don't. I can't think the board wants to keep this. Management can't be happy with the fact that the distractions from all these lawsuits that happen nonstop. There must be some way to get this management to change the direction and change who's in charge. We need a CEO that is confident that what's going on with these mice and rats in Freiburg is the next cure to cancer, or the next great therapy that's going to help with breast or lung or whatever. Because we don't have any money to put, and he's got to buy stock and show that he's got to buy stock, and we got to get these shorts to cover because the dynamics of the company have changed. We need an agent of change in this situation, and we don't have one. And I don't think we have very much time to because based on this, we've got like $12 million in cash that's not spent. And I guess we have to do a secondary. As troubling as it is for me to say that. Okay, I'm available for questions. Give me a shout. Thank you very much for your time.